¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. It is indeed Monday. I'm just trying out something a little bit different today. Folks, life is very sullen at the present. Well, that's neither here nor there. I'm not even gonna front. Last day before going to work. Oh man. How's it going, Maple Leaf Dragon? Can everybody hear me A-okay? Is this too loud? Is this too soft? You guys need to let me know. Yes, yes to hearing me okay? It is okay. Alright, I will take that. All good. Bipedal meatbag.
Drinking
How's it
warm
going?
water before bed.
Jesus. Perfect. I had some mail, ate some donuts, and now working on my second 30-ounce coffee. 30-ounce coffee, Jesus Christ. That, I'm not gonna lie, that seems a bit excessive. Do you plan to do like an all-nighter? Because, geez, with that amount of coffee and sugar, I'm not going to sleep. I have a rule: one cup of coffee a day. I mean, like, I can do a couple of cups of coffee. That's how I start my day off. But certainly not at this hour. I metabolize caffeine at a phenomenal rate. Oof, nice. Okay, that's good. Because to me, that would be GG. I'm not sleeping. I use monk fruit sweetener. I have no idea, nor have I ever heard of it. That's very interesting. We've got quite the amount of articles to go through, and we've got quite the amount of articles to go through and not enough time. It tastes like sugar, but no glycemic reaction. Gotcha. No sugar for me. It's part of me for the last 10 years. Saccharine is livable too. Gotcha. Yeah, I did see the video. I think we're gonna go over one thing that you put, I think, in the Discord. If we have time. Let me see here. All right. Let me go ahead and get this this started here. It turns everything on its head in its JWST. Yeah, I know. I'm just like not 100%. I'll have to look into it. All right, folks. Let's get this started. Yeah. Alright. This video caught my attention because the title of this video, released 2 days ago, was I Was Wrong. So I assume that we're gonna get Russell Brand to essentially retract, hopefully retract all the nonsense he's been saying, scaring us right off the bat. Yeah, we're just gonna get right into it, I think.
So sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm not perfect. I misread a
Jesus.
website. See? That weren't difficult, was it, mainstream media?
Wait, what?
Hello there, you 5.9 million awakening
Wait.
wonders. Thank you for joining us on this voyage towards truth.
Oi.
And how are we going to get to truth if we're not willing to admit when we make a mistake and be utterly candid about it? Subscribe to this channel right now if you don't subscribe already, and turn on the notification bell so we can always hit you hard with facts. For example, this fact. You know, the other day we did a video about the prevaricating narratives around coronavirus. We said, like, you know, they've changed the information on vitamin D, the recommendations around certain medications, lockdowns, masks, all these things have changed. Well, during that, there was one bit where I said, yesterday, the National Institute of Health added ivermectin to the list of COVID treatments. That was wrong. This is what I should have said. But have a look at the website and you can see why I got confused. What it says is that the NIH have been running clinical trials on ivermectin, and specifically, the panel recommends against the use of ivermectin
Oh
for the
my
treatment
God.
of COVID-19, except in clinical trials.
Yes, we know. We've gone over this for the umpteenth time. We know for the umpteenth time that there's no, like, real good, like, strong evidence to suggest that ivermectin has any type of positive, like, use for COVID. You need to tag your channel as horror if you keep bringing this guy's video up. Okay, my bad. Alright, content warning, alright? Hey Heat, how's it going? We've achieved Mach Ben Shapiro speed. Yeah, I'm trying to get through this, okay? Speaking of trolls, I bumped into Dwight Zombie trying to preach MAGA anti-vax on Twitch today. Nice. Nice. Very good. Yeah, so there's no studies or proof that ivermectin has any type of efficacy when it comes to treating COVID. As far as we know, all the tests have been either ivermectin doesn't really do anything to, we're not sure. There's so many chuds today. Well, it's okay. They can come here. I'm ready.
So, because it was a wide
Yeah, and like, of course, like, as soon as, like, people misread something on a website, they're like, yeah, aha, see? I knew, that ivermectin was going to, no, it's, what it sounds like they're doing is more testing on it.
widely tweeted thing, we thought it was true. That was really silly of us, and you deserve better. Thank God you pointed out to us, hold on Russell, that's not accurate. This is what the truth is. They're doing clinical trials and at this time they don't recommend it. We should have done better. We let you down. We will do better in future. So that's the exact situation. But of course, this gives us a further opportunity to analyze the nature of misinformation
clickbait.
and disinformation. Now, I know if you are viewers of our channel that you have been acutely aware of the Joe Rogan situation when Joe Rogan talked about taking ivermectin. Now, make no bones about it, Joe Rogan, I consider him to be a friend and I certainly admire him very much. Now,
we
when
know,
Joe
Russell.
Rogan said he took ivermectin for the treatment of his own coronavirus,
And turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies.
Right, which, by the way, like, this is like an older video, but we know that at that time, monoclonal antibodies was like pretty much like the best treatment that we have available, or had available at the time, especially for somebody like Joe Rogan. Yeah, absolutely. So, if he's saying things like, yeah, I threw the kitchen sink at it, by taking things like doing the monoclonal antibodies, which we know, doing a whole bunch of like vitamin whatever nonsense, and then just adding a whole bunch of stuff. How do you know, and how do you isolate that the fact that it was the ivermectin, right? Because like he kind of says it at the end, true, at the end. So yeah, your notification just arrived. Well, that's good. Everything but what the doctor said. Well, he did do monoclonal antibodies, which is like about as much as we know.
Ivermectin.
You would think if you're interested in misinformation and disinformation, clarity, truth and transparency, the mainstream media, in particular CNN, would have said something along these lines from the very same NIH website that we have misinterpreted.
But that was a while ago, my dude.
In our previous video. But they could have said something like this.
Lightsabers are finally a reality, and you can own one.
Oh
this
my
new
God.
military flashlight is basically a
Stop.
Ivermectin is a Food and Drug Administration approved anti-parasitic drug used to treat several diseases and has been widely used and is generally well tolerated. I remember that, don't you? Remember seeing like Don Lemon, everyone going, oh yeah, it's a widely used and generally tolerated video. Yeah, I remember it. I remember watching the news and going, yeah, I love the way this...
Wait, that's not... No. Okay, so he's gonna complain, he's gonna complain about like the media's like, I guess, portrayal of this whole situation, which I kind of like understand that point, but why would you then use it as... Okay, anyways, Joe Rogan is news media now. Yeah, Fox News takes their cues. Russell triggers the F out of me, same. I don't like this type of conspiratorial nonsense. Everyone here is feeling rather rustled right now. True. Treating COVID with ivermectin, it's like prescribing whiskey for skin cancer. It'll do something, it just won't cure the cancer. Correct. Give it to Dr. Oz. True.
Saying it's widely tolerated and it's a respected medicine. Like this bit.
When you have a horse...
Well, but like... Yeah. That's true. Ivermectin is used for certain things, and it's widely used for as an anti-parasitic or whatever. But none of the uses of ivermectin include COVID. That's my point. None of the uses of ivermectin include COVID, so I don't understand why this is such a big deal. Jesus Christ.
Deworming medication that's discouraged by the government.
Doctor threatened by a patient's family member for not treating him with horse dewormer.
You won't get vaccinated. You won't wear a mask. You say, oh, you're worried about the FDA approval. You don't know what's in the vaccine, but you'll take a drug meant for deworming livestock? Really?
That's narrativizing the issue, isn't it? We weren't trying to narrativize it. I've not got some secret agenda to get people on ivermectin. I ain't got shares in it. Actually, there's no point having shares in it because it's not patented anymore, curiously. What I believe you should do is your own...
Wait, you can't just say things like that and not let it like sneak past people, right? What? Did you all just catch that? Did you all just catch that? You have an obvious narrative to maintain viewership. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, like... He just snuck that in there. Very, very, very Weasley. Essentially what he said, or the implication is that because ivermectin isn't like... There's no patent for ivermectin, that there's no financial incentive, essentially, and therefore it is on the safer bet because like Big Pharma's out to try to push all these other things on you, try to push the vaccine on you. But ivermectin, there's no there's no like financial incentive. So and he's trying to give you the perception that yeah, it's safe, it's widely used. Yeah, which is true, but just not for COVID.
own research, which thank God you do, and I believe that you should have access to the real information. You shouldn't be bombarded with propaganda. And more broadly, I believe that when someone in media makes a mistake, they should be honest about it. You all saw the famous Rachel Maddow clip where she said if you're vaccinated, you won't get it.
The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people.
You've all seen Joe Biden say that.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
You've seen Fauci say things that are similar to it. We've all had people in positions
hold
of
on.
authority tell
One
us stuff
second.
that isn't true. Yes,
1 second. I have 2 questions here. One, he shows clips of obviously 2 people, Rachel Maddow and Joe Biden. What do those 2 people have in common? Can anybody tell me? What do those 2 people have in common? Okay, somebody's jumping ahead. No, I mean, well, yeah, I guess they're both Dems, but that's not the point. That's true. They're both humans. Here, I guess I'll say it. The thing is the common factor between those 2 people that he conveniently showed clips of are they're not doctors or medical professionals. Okay? Rachel Maddow is not a medical professional. Joe Biden, to my knowledge, is not a medical professional. But as somebody as Bipedal Meatbag astutely pointed out, there's no clip of Fauci. He kind of just shrugs that up. He kind of just shrugs that off. Why? Because I'm willing to bet that Fauci didn't exactly say those words. If it was like Dr. Fauci, it would probably be something along the lines of, yeah, we have, the vaccines are effective at preventing the spread for X amount of time, before the vaccines start to lose their potency or whatever it is, right? He wants to shit on Fauci? Yeah, well, that's part of it, but...
yes, with relationship to the pandemic, but for our whole lives, basically, around everything. What I propose is a different type of media that's a genuine discourse, a genuine conversation.
Yeah, he never showed the clip
not predicated on
of
the
Fauci.
assumption that people are stupid, or on the assumption that people on this side of the lens have any real authority. We're just people trying to get through life together.
Yeah, but you're posing yourself as somebody who should, you're acting as somebody who is in a position of like power. Obviously, you're acting as a point of authority, right? As a news distributor, as an information distributor, right? That's your job, Russell. You do like what, 1 video a day? If I didn't have vax boosters, I could have been very sick. Yep. My question is why does Brand feel the need to do this? It brings him clicks and it brings him money. So yeah, that seems to be that seems to check out. All vaccines lose efficacy over time when his immune system is supposed to take over after that. Makes sense. He is indeed a fucko. I know why his appearances in England are not making this kind of YouTube and social media money. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Truly trying to look at the science, the information, the data, and understand it better together, knowing that we will make mistakes. And what you also know about us now is we will tell you the truth. And if you tell us
but
what
you're not
you know,
telling us
we'll
the
respond
truth.
to it.
Like, we just did a whole, like, we just did another debunk of this guy. Straight up, like, just doing the same mistake here, right? We literally spent like 45 minutes deconstructing the other video where he makes the same mistakes. Meaning he didn't read or isn't being forward with the information that he's providing. Like, he's presenting studies and clearly either he didn't read them or has no capability of analyzing them. Or he's lying. Here, he's admitted that he clearly misunderstood. Which I'm going to assume is the only reason this video came out, is because enough people called him out on it. No, he's not really cut out for this. I don't think so. Or maybe he is. He has the freedom to do what he wants, but he kind of sucks. True.
We won't go, oh, this is an horse paste when it says the FDA say it's widely recommended. And if we do say
yes,
the NIH have recommended...
But for other stuff, not for COVID. Like... Okay.
Recommended it on our website, when in fact what they've put on their website is that it's currently under clinical trials, and until the conclusion of those clinical trials they don't recommend it. We'll tell you that we were wrong in a detail. But even this video's probably got that thing underneath it, hasn't it? From Wikipedia, COVID misinformation. Is that down there? Our little friend down there? Or has it got a little screen across it on Instagram where you've got to click through it? You know.
As I love how he refers to like the little thing as his friend, because he probably puts out so much bullshit that it's constantly over his videos. Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's what this guy's into. I don't know if that's his problem, Alio. His problem is that he wants a lot of clicks. It looks like the Dunning-Kruger effect in real time. True.
They make a lot of effort, don't they? Have you noticed?
Like, if Russell Brand really wanted to like get in like people's good graces, or like at least like have a modicum of, you know, being principled, I think that he should retract a lot of these videos and do I was wrong videos for like a bunch of these things that he's gotten wrong.
Is there certain disparity around which bits of misinformation are prioritised? Perhaps you'll ask yourself that question, and perhaps you'll let me know in the comments what you think it is, because I'm open enough to admit, and experienced enough now, thanks to you, to know that I'll learn from what you tell me, and I hope that I'll continue to
Not really, because I bet if people point out like the amount of bullshit he does, I don't know. And go away for a bit, I wish. Because then I don't have to do this.
Towards truth, and how are we going to get to
shoot.
Recommend it? We should have done better. We really through the really tolerant, and I believe that you should have access to the real information. You shouldn't be bombing. You've seen Fauci together, truly trying to look at the science, the information, the data, and understand it better together, knowing that we will make mistakes. And what you also know about us now is we will tell you the truth. And if you tell us what you know, we'll respond to it. We won't go, oh, this is an horse paste when it says the FDA say it's widely recommended. And if we do say
COVID,
the NIH have recommended it on our website, when in fact what they've put on their website is that it's currently under clinical trials, and until the conclusion of those clinical trials they don't recommend it, we'll tell you that we were wrong in a detail. But even this video's probably got that thing underneath it, hasn't it? From Wikipedia, COVID misinformation. Is that down there? Our little friend down there? Or has it got a little screen across it on Instagram where you've got to click through it? You know, they make a lot of effort, don't they? Have you noticed there's certain disparity around which bits of misinformation are prioritised? Perhaps you'll ask yourself that question, and perhaps you'll let me know in the comments what you think it is.
Because what you say is bullshit, dude. Could it be just that simple? Jesus Christ.
Because I'm open enough to admit, and experienced enough now, thanks to you, to know that I'll learn from what you tell me. And I hope that I'll continue to learn from what you tell us on this channel. We're all aware by this stage that the pandemic's a relatively unique situation and has led to a lot of contradiction. Some say hypocrisy and some say overreach of government in regulation and some say a lack of transparency around Big Pharma. Some people say that. With Paxlovid, I've always thought of as a bit of a stupid name. When Paxlovid came to market in 2021, studies from Pfizer indicated that only 1 to 2% of patients who took the drug tested positive for COVID again shortly after finishing their dosage. But other experts say the rapid reinfection rate is closer to 40%, and that Paxlovid can cause this issue by suppressing patients' immune system too early, meaning their own bodies are unable to get a handle on COVID. Last week, USA Today reported that Pfizer's COVID-19 pill appears to provide little or no benefit for younger adults. And then, on the subject of natural immunity, in January, the CDC released data from New York and California which demonstrated that natural immunity was 2.8 times as effective in preventing hospitalization and 3.3 to 4.7 times as effective in preventing COVID infection compared with vaccination. So natural immunity, there were points where you weren't allowed to talk about that. I believe
Literally nobody has said that. Hey Stoop, has anyone suggested not talking to Russell Brand? Does he peddle snake oil like Alex Jones? No, just he's like a cult leader basically. So no, he doesn't like peddle snake oils per se. I wonder if he took any top secret papers. No, I don't think so. So one thing to note is that while a natural immunity, natural immunity is quite robust. The problem here is you have to roll the dice. What? So you're just suggesting that people should just get COVID? No, I don't think that's a feasible suggestion. There are people, like Elio said, there's people that are immunocompromised. So that's not really, that's not an option. And furthermore, while it is true that some, natural immunity is very robust, the vaccine generally gives you a more broad, protection against different strains. From what I understand, it's like kind of like a general thing. Anyways, the point being is like the main issue here is that you would have to roll the dice and get COVID when we have a vaccine. I mean, why would you? Okay.
I believe I'm correct in saying that Instagram banned the hashtag natural immunity. There's another moment that'll mean they're down there with the old misinformation tag, but I don't mind that. I welcome criticisms. I welcome conversation. We on this channel are trying to have an open discourse. We already know there are a wide range of perspectives that people don't agree with us on certain issues. There are certainly other broadcasters that I have relationships with that I don't agree with on stuff. There are shows that I'm planning to go on in your country, America, soon, where I don't agree with a lot of things those people say, but I believe in their right to say it, and I believe in our ability to have a conversation. And when it comes to matters like this, particularly when there's a degree of complexity and there have been some reversals, transitions and changes, that the only way to do that is transparently and completely openly. And if we can do it,
but like what he's describing is like the scientific process, right? We underwent something very unprecedented, and to like think that there isn't going to be a lot of like back and forth, new data means new procedures which may or may not be completely different. It's just ludicrous to think that like, oh yeah, well we're just going back and forth and there's a lot of backpedaling, so I don't know, like it just doesn't make any sense. Tina, rating with a party of 17, welcome everybody, how's it going? Thank you so much for bringing your wonderful community, folks. How's it going? I've been super lucky to not get COVID, sheesh. Natural immunity does protect you, but some strains of the virus attack faster than your body can defend, and vaccine jumpstarts your own defenses quicker. There we go. Thank you, Maple Leaf Dragon. I would prefer not to get COVID, and with cerebral palsy, I would prefer not to get polio. Yeah, like I said, he ignores the fact that, like, some people just don't have that option. Folks, if you guys haven't seen me before, I am a difficult truth. I do the news, I do the politics Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. You get 5 free emotes. Thank you so much, Tina, for bringing in your wonderful community. If you have a moment, head on over to twitch.tv/Tina_2. Go give her a follow, go show some support, yeah? Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Canadian Brunch, welcome. Indeed, this is a raid.
Our little channel here, peopled and powered primarily by you.
But it's not a little channel. It's almost a 6 million sub channel, my dude, and you're out here spewing bullshit. That's the problem here.
Then surely great big organisations with all of their sponsorship and all of their power can do it. I suppose you just have to check where they're getting that sponsorship from.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
So, what would you prefer? Open communication and transparency from these channels, or an agenda and the rigid adherence to narratives that it starts to seem?
But like, you have to prove that, right? I mean, sure, you know, you could say that like these big companies have a lot of sway of what goes on, but like you have to prove that this has some kind of like nefarious, you know, thing behind it. A party of 17 is a 15% gratuity automatically. That's true. Yeah, this is a Mar-a-Lago raid. That's right. Oh yeah, he won't do that. I don't think that Russell Brand would not have like an actual like medical doctor. To my knowledge, I don't think he's even had a medical doctor like that really to really explain this and interview, but I don't even know if actually he's qualified to do that, to be quite frank.
Either to the broadcasters themselves directly, or to some set of ancillary relationships, or more broadly, a set of systemic beliefs that are being imposed and somehow, if not directly dictated from top down, certainly abided by on a cultural level. I don't know. Why don't you tell me in the comments below? Also, if you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these.
No, I don't. I don't. Really. I don't. Okay. Watch my 6. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Nobody move. Okay. Jesus, irked. Am I being like... Is this a stick-up? They can't prove it, so they just act as if it's already been settled so that they're correct and move on to the next part of the theory. True! That's how it works. There you go. You got the Bakita emote. Canadian Brunch, how's it going? Welcome, everybody. Alright, we gotta talk about this. Did I do this? Okay, yeah. Let's take a look at this analysis from The Independent. We'll see. Blue Mirage pollsters warn Democratic leads in midterms may be exaggerated. The New York Times political analyst Nate Cohn. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is this the same? Hold on. Hold on. I'm seeing some red flags here. I'm seeing some red flags. Why do I feel like I don't trust this 100%? That's right, do it, chat. Y'all saw irked with the little gun emotes, okay? You better do it. You better sub. New York Times political analyst Nate Cohn has warned that polls show Democrats in the lead might be making the same mistakes that forecasters made in 2020. Wait. In 2020, the Upshot website creating a polling diary that included a table that showed what would happen if polls were as wrong as they were when they missed Donald Trump's 2016 victory. Early in the 2020 cycle, we noticed that Joe Biden seems to be outperforming Mrs. Clinton in the same places where polls overestimated her 4 years ago. That pattern didn't necessarily mean the polls could be wrong. It could have just reflected Mr. Biden's promised strength among white working class voters, for instance, but it was a warning sign. Now Cohen said that the same pattern is repeating itself. That warning sign is flashing again. The Democratic Senate candidates are outrunning expectations in the same places where polls overestimated Mr. Biden in 2020 and Mrs. Clinton in 2016. Yeah, but we're in a whole different game plan here. Why would you compare, why would you compare polls from 2016? I hear Trump landed in Washington. Yeah, I don't know why though. The polls weren't all that bad in 2016. To be fair, they did predict that she would win the popular vote. Cohen uses Wisconsin Senate race where the incumbent Republican Senator Ron Johnson is trailing behind Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes by 7 points in the Marquette University Law School poll. Cohen said that Wisconsin was ground zero for polling errors in 2020. In the end, the polls overestimated Mr. Biden about 8 percentage points. Eerily enough, Mr. Barnes is faring better than he expected by a similar margin. Yeah, but we're talking about this is a different ball game here. Numerous polls in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio have also shown Democratic candidates like Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and Tim Ryan respectively with a lead against their Republican counterparts. Cohen notes a trend where the more that polls overestimate Mr. Biden in 2020, the better the other Dems seem to perform in polls, while Democrats are performing worse in places where polls are more accurate. Okay, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that this is going to be the same case, right? Left flank vets rating with a party of 165. Welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The Jeep State is here. Welcome, welcome, Jeep Staters, Jeepers, I guess. We'll call them Jeepers. Welcome, everybody. Folks, if you guys, do not know who I am a Difficult Truth. I do the news, I do the politics Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us on Sundays around noon Eastern Time for Sunday Fun Days. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button, click the little icon, get 5 free emotes. Look at that. Thank you so much, Icarus, Ridex, Z Salzborg. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure Trump is still shocked that none of them will work his case without a large cash payment in advance. Why are they all Jeeps? It's the Jeep State. That's how it works. They're all Jeepers. I can't believe that Herschel Walker might win. Yeah, there's a possibility, albeit there is a chance that Herschel Walker might actually win, which is wild to me. Trump's having a large golf meeting, they're on the course but not playing, really? Thank you for the follow, Sunny in SoCal. Appreciate that. Dan Leon, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. Alright folks, we're gonna continue this analysis that I'm not 100% convinced. I'm not convinced. But we'll see. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. Folks, if you haven't already, please check out twitch.tv/leftflankvets. This is the go-to place right after we sign off from the Majority Report. Code notes a trend where the more that polls overestimate Mr. Biden in 2020, the better other Dems seem to perform in polls, while Democrats are performing worse in places where polls are more accurate, like in Georgia, where Senator Raphael Warnock trails his former University of Georgia running back, Herschel Walker. It raises the possibility that apparent Democratic strength in Wisconsin is elsewhere is a mirage, but like, why are you conflating different areas from different elections? It raises the possibility that apparent Democratic strength in Wisconsin and elsewhere is a mirage, an artifact of persistent and unaddressed biases in survey research. Maybe. Democrats are hoping to hold on to their 50-seat majority and potentially gain seats in places with Republican senators like in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Ohio. Code notes that some pollsters like Brian Stryker at Impact Research, a Democratic firm, are trying to deal with the problem surveys had in 2020 by restricting the number of Democratic primary voters, early voters, and super engaged Democrats. They surveyed that they survey, and the Times and Siena College are doing the same. But he noted that if polls were just as wrong as they were in 2020, the race for the Senate could look quite different. The apparent Democratic edge in Senate races in Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Ohio would evaporate. To take the chamber, Republicans would need any two of Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, or Pennsylvania. With Democrats today well ahead in Pennsylvania and Arizona, the fight for the control of the chamber would come down to the very close races in Nevada and Georgia. Oh man, can you imagine if like the Democratic Party manages to freaking fumble a race against Herschel Walker and lose the slim majority, the slim 50-50 majority. That would be embarrassing. That would be embarrassing. Warnock is only up by 1 point. Yeah, that's nothing. That's a tie. That's a tie for all intents and purposes. That's a tie statistically. I mean, Jesus, how embarrassing that Herschel Walker is basically on par with Warnock. The Democratic Party needs to definitely step it up because, jeez, man. Yeesh. So I think like what I can gather from this is that it's probably like realistically these races in 2022, maybe even the 2024 election, I guess would, you know, the scales might tip over depending on how this goes, but it seems like what we can take from this is that it's really gonna end up being a freaking coin flip. What kind of leftist are you? The left kind. The lefty kind. Yeah, unfortunately, that's what it looks like to me. I mean, like, I can't gather anything else other than, like, the more I read into it and the more things look, it looks really, honestly, like, if we want to paint a realistic picture as to what's going on here, when it comes to the midterm elections, it looks like a coin flip, which is embarrassing. But here we are. Alright folks, let's take a look at this one here. Americans give healthcare system a failing mark. No kidding. No freaking kidding. No freaking way. Wow. Surprise Pikachu face. Surprise Pikachu face. For-profit system fails. Anyways, when Emmanuel Obeng Dankwa is worried about making rent in his New York City apartment, he sometimes holds off filling his blood pressure medication. Because that's the type of country we live in, where people, ordinary people, have to make decisions like this. And his case is not like an edge case. This is the fact. This is the fact for millions and millions of people. This is the day-to-day decisions that the working class, the poor working class has to make. Yeah, I'm all of them and none of them. Oh, we're a third world country in denial. That's right. If there's no money, I prefer to skip the medication to being homeless. Imagine, like, having to come to this, like, decision. A 50-year-old security guard making decisions like that. Literally asking the question whether I want to be homeless or am I going to have to skip medication for my blood pressure? How freaking embarrassing. He is among a majority of adults in the US who say that healthcare is not handled well in the country. No shit! According to a new poll from the Associated Press NORG Center for Public Affairs Research. The poll reveals that public satisfaction with the US healthcare system is remarkably low, with fewer than half of Americans say it's generally handled well. I mean, yeah, if you got a bunch of money. Yeah. If you've got a bunch of money, then sure, whatever. But the majority of people don't. I have friends that have to ration their insulin. That's freaking criminal, man. That's freaking criminal. Imagine thinking that the US is the best healthcare system in the world. Yeah, imagine. With everything being political, and I mean everything, people being worked into a frenzy over the littlest things and being hopelessly addicted to media and social media, polls can significantly shift a moment's notice. Even the aggregate polling services are pulling their hair out. It's pure chaos. Sheesh. My first job was as a pharmacy cashier, and it was legitimately traumatizing. Jesus, Material Squirrel. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, hey. Get back here. Okay, here we are. Now I'm getting all kind of ads. Stop it. Only 12% say it's handled extremely or very well. Yeah, I can't imagine why. I can't imagine why. In a rural area, about half the people who came in left not being able to afford the medicine they came in to get. Jesus, that's freaking hard. Yeah, Jesus Christ. That is freaking sad. That is freaking sad. Overall, the public gives even lower marks for how prescription drug costs, quality of care, nursing homes, and mental health are being handled, with just 6% of saying those health services are done very well in the country. Yeah, I can imagine. These are the people that could probably afford the best, or at least have the resources to find whatever care that they need. Because in a for-profit system, that's what works. That's what rules. That's what rules. I was 16 and they thought it would be fine. They thought it would just be fine for me to do that job. Capitalism is shit. True. 16? Yeesh. Do you guys think that people are angry enough to do something about all this yet? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. You would think that, like, being put in the situation that we're in, and given the fact that this isn't like a new thing, these aren't like new problems, you would think that like this would have already happened a while ago, but a lot of people are angry at the wrong people. Yeah, well, that's a good point too. I think they will be soon, to be honest. Even conservatives are getting mad at capitalism. I don't think so. I disagree. I disagree. I think conservatism at this point is pretty much like resorting to, well, the inevitable end, which is fascism. The inevitable progression of conservatism usually ends up in fascism. So yeah, I don't think that just because conservatives can like accurately, or at least they understand to some degree that like something isn't right here, something's not working, but they don't really blame capitalism necessarily. Not really. They blame like the other, right? People have been programmed since birth for their team. The propaganda is real, true. Yeah, no class consciousness. That's kind of what I was referring to. Some of them get the message that the system is unfair. Yeah, but their prescription to that, their solution to that, would just resorts to like authoritarianism. They resort to being like, okay, well, clearly we've got a problem here, and it's the other, right? That's who they end up pointing the finger at, right? So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Navigating the American healthcare system is exceedingly frustrating, said Mark Fendrick, the director of the University of Michigan Center for Value-Based Insurance Design. The COVID pandemic has only made it worse. More than 2 years after the pandemic start, healthcare worker burnout and staffing shortages are plaguing hospitals across the country. Americans are still having trouble getting in-person medical care after health centers introduced restrictions as COVID-19 killed and sickened millions of people around the country. In fact, the poll shows an overwhelming majority of Americans, nearly 8 in 10, say that they are at least moderately concerned about getting access to quality healthcare when they need it. Black and Hispanic adults in particular are resoundingly worried about healthcare access, with nearly 6 in 10 saying they're very or extremely concerned about getting good care. Fewer than half of white adults, 44%, expressed that same level of worry. Racial disparities have long troubled America's healthcare system. They've been abundantly clear during the COVID pandemic, with Black and Hispanic people dying disproportionately from the virus. Black and Hispanic men also make up disproportionately high rate of recent monkeypox infections. 53% of women said they're extremely or over-concerned about obtaining quality care, compared to 42% of men. While Americans are united in their dissatisfaction with the healthcare system, that agreement dissolves when it comes to solutions to fix it. About 2/3 think it's the federal government's responsibility to make sure all Americans have healthcare coverage, with adults 18 to 49 more likely than those over 50 hold that view. Which is funny because, like, you would think that, like, on the more older side, the folks who are, like, actually getting Medicare would be like, yeah, this is good. But whatever. The percentage of people who believe healthcare coverage is a government responsibility has risen in recent years, ticking up from 57% to 62% in 27. Ticking up from 57% in 2019 and 62% in 2017. Still, there's no consensus on how that coverage might be delivered. Wait. Okay. About 4 in 10 Americans say they support a single-payer system that would require Americans to get their health insurance from a government plan. No. Well, I think that's like a misinterpretation of how that works. Single payer system means that the government is the one paying for it. There is a single payer, right? Most of them want the system to be unfair because it maximizes profits. True. I'd say poor conservatives are starting to get sick of capitalism, maybe for different reasons than liberals, though. Yeah, that was my argument, exactly. If we don't move these systems to public sector, they're just going to keep failing up while healthcare declines. Yep. There's also broad support. Oh, wait, hold on. More than 58% of say that they favor a government health insurance plan that anyone can purchase. Wait, so a single payer system? Okay. There's also broad support for policies that would help Americans pay for the cost of long-term care, including a government-administered insurance plan similar to Medicare. The federal government's insurance plan. Yeah, so again, like a single payer system. Okay. Retired nurse Penny Wright of Camden, Tennessee doesn't like the idea of government-run healthcare systems. After switching to Medicare, she was surprised to walk out of her annual Well Woman visit, once fully covered by her private insurance plan, with $200 worth of charges for a mammogram and a pap smear. RC Cola, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. Yeah, it's not just moving it to the public sector, it's making sure that the resources are in place to provide the healthcare. We currently have a Congress who would neuter any public healthcare system in an instant if it meant having an extra $100 in their campaign coffers. True. Cruelty is the point. Yep, it seems like it. She prefers the flexibility she had on her private insurance plan. Yeah, okay. I feel like we have the best healthcare system in the world when we have a choice of where we want to go. What, like, you see, like, this is such a misconception, right? Because, like, you don't have a choice of where you want to go, right? You actually really don't. The health insurance companies tell you where to go. And if you're not in a covered, like, network or whatever, then you're SOL. Privatization is history's biggest grift. True. They think the more you pay, the better it is. True. Choice is the problem, right? And like, well, yeah, but I think what this person is trying to argue is like, yeah, but I get to choose whatever plan I want and like whatever, but you don't have choices. With the private sector, you're being told what you are going to be approved for, what you're not going to approve for. You can be denied healthcare because certain drug prescriptions may not be covered, so you're gonna have to pay full price to that. But you know, I guess I guess you have the freedom to choose which private insurance company gets to run your healthcare. That's about as much choice you're getting. In my opinion, it's still easier to hold public officials accountable than a swath of private organizations with different owners and shifty legal practices. And yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. A majority of Americans, roughly 2/3, were happy to see that the government stepped in to provide free COVID testing, vaccines, and treatment. Roughly 2 in 10 were neutral about the government's response. The government's funding for free COVID tests dried up at the beginning of the month, and while the White House says the latest batch of recommended COVID boosters will be free to anyone who wants one, it doesn't have money on hand to buy any future rounds of booster shots for every American. 80% say they support the federal government negotiating for lower drug prices. President Biden this summer signed a landmark bill into allowing Medicare to negotiate the price of prescription drugs. The move is expected to save taxpayers as much as $100 billion over the next decade. Medication costs should be low to the minimum so that everyone can afford it, said Obeng Denko, the Bronx renter who has trouble paying for his medication. Those who are poor should be able to get all the necessary help they need in the same way someone who also has money to pay for it. Yeah. Yeah, because, like, I don't know, we're human beings. I'm sick of pharmaceutical and medical lobbying in general. Well, that's capitalism. How about having the freedom to have healthcare on demand wherever you are, whoever you are and wherever you are? True! AP reporter Hannah Fingerhut in Washington contributed to this report. The poll of about 1,505 adults were conducted in July 28 to August 1 using a sample drawn from NORG's probability-based Ameri-Speak panel, which is designed to be representative of the U.S. population. The margin of sampling error for all respondents is plus or minus 3.6 percentage points. Mayhem Hippie, how's it going? Surprise, surprise. Most Americans don't like privatized healthcare. Especially when you're constantly being forced to choose whether you take your medication or whether you make rent that month. Go live up some grandmas? That's funny. Alright. Let's take a look at this here. Republicans across the country are working to make it harder to pass ballot measures, which is a direct threat to abortion rights advocates and other liberal groups' efforts to bypass governors and legislators to take issues directly to voters. The next major test for the strategy comes in November. Arizona and Arkansas GOP-controlled legislators are asking voters to approve constitutional amendments that would raise the threshold for ballot initiatives from 50% to 60%. Man, these people are freaking super ass mad. Super ass mad. Because, like, fundamentally what they're telling you here, is that they actually do not believe in democracy. This is exactly what they're telling you. The fact that they want to take these unprecedented measures. Yeah, yes, Bipedal. They're just frankly admitting that they hate democracy. They're just straight up saying, you know what? We don't need the plebs getting any ideas. All right, listen. Having them make decisions? What? No way. Arkansas's proposal would apply to constitutional amendments and citizen-initiated state statutes on any subject matter, including abortion. Arizona's applies to only taxation-related measures, though some see it as a prelude to a broader version. Our state constitution should only be amended where there's a genuine consensus among voters. That Arkansas, yeah, like, again, you know, whatever. These are bullshit excuses. Said Arkansas State Representative David Ray, the Republican who sponsored the proposed amendment. This ballot measure provides a much-needed guardrail against democracy. We need to put a much-needed guardrail against an outright, like, democratic, you know, tool that the people have. Yeah, and how we're going to justify this? By saying get big money and out-of-state special interest. What out-of-state interest? Like, what are you talking about? Quit trying to hijack our state constitution and ballot initiative system by pulling wool over voters' eyes and effectively buying new laws and constitutional amendments. But like, isn't that what lobbying is anyways? So wait, how is this any different? How is this any different? And furthermore, like, it's kind of telling that that's what bothers you, right? That's where you draw the line when like people make like, you know, when people have a tool to make like decisions and well, ballot initiatives and amend the Constitution that, you know, it's supposed to be for the people and whatnot, that's like literally the dictating law. You don't want the people to have say in that? Yeah, how dare the unwashed masses have a voice? We live in an oligarchy. Voter opinion only has like 30% effect on a bill passes or not. I've heard that statistic. I've heard that figure. Nonetheless, clearly we have an incredible unbalancing of the scales here. And what little tools we have to kind of like say our piece, these people are just completely not okay with it, and they just want to do away with that altogether. And like furthermore, who are these out-of-state special interests? Like, can you name an example? Probably not. The Republican push to regulate ballot measures has escalated in recent years as citizen-led initiatives have been used to legalize marijuana, expand Medicaid, and create independent redistricting commissions and raise the minimum wage in purple and red states. Right. Things that would benefit the poor, things that would benefit the people, things that would benefit the working class. That's a no-no. Yeah, the ones funding their campaigns. Yeah, I guess this new tool in our box to protect reproductive rights and liberty is going to give our opposition even more incentive to take that away from us and make it harder to pass ballot measures. But this tactic is under new scrutiny after Deep Red Kansas anti-abortion referendum failed by a wide margin, which gave abortion rights supporters around the country hope that ballot measures can be a viable way to circumvent GOP-controlled legislators and restore access to the procedure. Some progressives worry that they could lose one of their last remaining tools to defend or advance abortion rights in a post-Roe country. Red states know that this is the one lever that reproductive rights advocates still have in many states, where we've lost both chambers of the legislature, we've lost gubernatorial seats, and we don't have very much hope in the court system, said Kelly Hall, executive director of advocacy group The Fairness Project. Ballot measures remain one of the true muscle that the people still have to flex. Conservative groups in North Dakota are expecting to try again next year to impose a supermajority voter threshold for ballot initiatives after their signature gathering attempts to put such measure on the November ballot fell short earlier this summer. Yeah, pay attention, folks. Pay attention. Republican lawmakers in South Dakota are also expected to take another swing at it, making it harder to approve ballot initiatives after voters rejected one 60% voter requirement during the state's June primary. Yeah, like, it's incredibly important to pay attention to, like, you know, local elections like this. Alio with the 10 biddies, thank you so much, I appreciate that. In Florida, a state where proposed constitutional amendment already needs 60% approval to pass, lawmakers are recently imposing limits on fundraising for ballot campaigns, although that policy was blocked by a judge this summer. In Nebraska, legislators this year banned signature gathering near voting drop boxes as part of an omnibus election bill. I wasn't aware that that was like a thing, but okay. Lawmakers in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Utah are also expected to soon renew their push for other restrictions, such as raising the vote or signature threshold, requiring signatures from a certain number of counties in the state, limiting what topics citizens-initiated ballots can address, or dictating what font size canvassers need to use. This is so petty. This is so petty. Jesus Christ. Unbelievable. The Constitution is supposed to be a framework, and then you have laws that operate within that framework, but increasingly our Constitution is becoming a law book in and of itself, said State Representative Bishop Davidson, who supports limits on the ballot measure process. No, I'm pretty sure like the Constitution like also can have legislative, writings in it. It's kind of not laws, but things like the Bill of Rights and amendments like that, kind of important. Davidson added that the threat of pro-abortion rights ballot measure, something that activists are discussing after their victory in neighboring Kansas, may persuade more of his Republican colleagues to support the reforms to the initiative petition process the next session. Right, so they're just ass mad. They're just so mad that like people would dare have a recourse, or dare use a tool, for their self-determination, that they're just going to shut that down. Especially admitting that victory in Kansas is threatening to them is just unbelievable. They just don't believe in democracy. They just fundamentally don't care. The butthurt is strong, true. I would be shocked if there wasn't a petition circulated from the pro-choice side of this debate. I think it's coming and I am concerned. Proponents argue these changes, which more states are expected to debate when legislators reconvene in January, are aimed at preventing out-of-state money from pouring into their state and influencing voters to change laws or amend their constitution. I know that there's a lot of paid petitioners out there. Is it truly the people who are wanting these things, or is it just groups that are paying for these things? Well, if you vote, yeah, that's like saying, like by that definition, then any election, you shouldn't have access to out-of-state funds if that's the case. Like, how hypocritical. Like, the Republican Party brings in people from out of state. Like, they'll have different, like, senators and headliners from out of state. Like, wasn't there just a rally the other day for professional snake oil salesman Dr. Oz? And I used Dr. Oz in like air quotes. Wasn't like Trump wasn't Trump doing some type of rally for him? That sounds like out of state. Wasn't Marjorie Taylor Greene doing some type of rally for him too? I'm pretty sure she was like involved in like a recent rally that has nothing to do with her state. So yeah, I don't see that as a sufficient argument for saying that ballot initiatives can't like be a thing. Because like if that's the case, then no out of state means no out of state. That means for elections too. I know there's a lot of paid petitioners out there. Is it truly the people that are wanting these things, or is it just groups that are paying for these things? This pattern extends beyond state legislators into other parts of government. In Michigan, Republicans on the state board of canvassers voted to block the certification of sweeping abortion rights ballot initiatives that got far more than the required number of valid signatures over the claims the text of the proposed amendment had spacing and formatting errors. That's the issue here. That's the issue. what seems to indicate a very, very popular initiative that got far more than the required validated signatures or whatever, was rejected because the state board of canvassers decided that just spacing and formatting errors. Sorry. Yeah. The state Supreme Court overrode their decision on Thursday, meaning voters will have a chance in November to decide whether abortion remains legal. This is why local elections are so important. And last year in Mississippi, a conservative-leaning court struck down the state's entire ballot initiative process. Jesus. No democracy for you. This new tool in our box to protect reproductive rights and liberty is going to give our opposition even more incentive to take that away from us and make it harder to pass ballot initiatives, said Corinne Rivera Fowler, Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy at the Progressive Ballot Initiative Strategy Center. Of the 24 states that allow citizen-initiated ballot measures, 11 have laws prohibiting most abortions, though some are temporarily blocked in court. The efforts to stymie ballot initiatives, however, haven't been targeted specifically at abortion. Arkansas legislators, for example, acted after liberal groups turned to voters to raise the minimum wage and legalize medical marijuana. But these policies may have their greatest impacts on abortion rights as lawmakers across the country consider not only whether and when the procedure should be legal, but also what punishments to mete out to physicians and patients. Punishment. Jesus Christ. That phrasing. Arkansas's Right to Life hasn't taken a position on the proposed supermajority vote requirement, but the group's executive director, Rose Mims, told Politico its passage would help prevent efforts to amend the state's constitution to codify a right to abortion. Yeah, they're just scared of democracy. That's it. That's fundamentally what it is here. Like, this whole entire article can just be summarized. Like, conservatism is pretty much fundamentally anti-democratic, and these people are just ass mad. I'm pretty sure I saw a report recently that I saw a city council meeting or something as they were taking the vote. They changed the rules of the vote so the progressive member didn't have a chance to speak or vote or something. It was a while ago. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, these people fundamentally do not believe in democracy. Yeah, the lawmakers pushing for higher thresholds said she's very good. She said are very good pro-life people. So I'm thinking they had not only abortion but other conservative issues in the mind when they wanted to protect our constitution from being changed so easily by making that supermajority a requirement. We've seen it here in Arkansas with marijuana, that once you start amending the Constitution, there's no meaning to it. What are you talking about? The whole point of a Constitution, like, the whole point of an amendment is to amend, right? Like, yeah, you know, damn. All these, like, 20, how many, like, actual federal, like, amendments do we have? $27 times. Like the you know, main constitution. So yeah, there is meaning to amend the Constitution. That's the whole point. Like, the document itself gives you the ability to mend it if you really needed to. I will never understand why conservatives think the Constitution is the Bible and they can't be changed ever. Yeah, I have no idea. Makes no sense. Opponents of the 60% requirement argue that it would make it much more difficult to pass progressive policies, including protections for abortions, in a state where Republicans in the legislature outnumber Dems 3-1. This is the only tool we have in a state like Arkansas, said Chimera Seals, a policy director for Arkansas Public Policy Panel, one of the groups campaigning against the amendment. That's why we must fight to protect our access to the ballot, because we're not going to get it in this legislature. Groups that oppose the restrictions also argue that that the process is already time-consuming and expensive. In Michigan, for example, tens of thousands of canvassers, mostly volunteers with paid staff, worked for months to gather hundreds of thousands of signatures to get the abortion right amendment on the November ballot, and planning for the effort began years earlier. Both SBA Pro-Life America and Students for Life, two national anti-abortion groups that have spent millions on ballot initiative fights in Kansas and other states, told Politico that they aren't getting involved in debates over the ballot process. Too many state and national leaders are not responsive to what voters really want, so the rise in ballot initiatives as a trend comes from people taking advantage of the course open to them. I mean, yeah, and if the people agree, then so be it, get fucked. Said Chrissy Hamrick, the spokesperson for Student for Life. I hope this isn't about silencing constituents. No. How could this be about like silencing anybody? If you're trying to use democratic processes, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the only people trying to silence constituents are the Republicans here. That's it. The Republican Party is the one that wants to silence their constituents because they want to outlaw, or they want to restrict, or they want to make it harder for things like popular, for things to pass with a majority. That's what they're scared of. In other words, democracy. Polls show that Roe's demise has helped Democrats close the enthusiasm gap, and Democratic candidates have benefited from a surge in donations since Politico published a draft Supreme Court opinion in May. But progressive groups fear not enough attention is being paid to the ballot initiative process. That's true. We're really raising the alarm bell about what's happening this November, because if they succeed in any of these states, it will be all the more fuel to the fire to say that they should be proposing these restrictions everywhere else. Yep. The Fairness Project, which was behind a successful Medicaid expansion ballot measures in Oklahoma in 2020, after which lawmakers introduced several bills to make it harder to pass citizen. Damn, can you imagine? Like, all right, listen, the people voted on this, and they want to expand like Medicaid. In other words, they want to expand the ability for people that poor people who don't have money to have Medicaid. Right, that's the purpose of Medicaid. And then like as soon as this passed, these freaking people got so ass mad that they introduced several bills to make it harder for citizen-led ballot initiatives, including a proposal to raise the threshold for approving constitutional amendments to 55%. Jesus. It's only a democracy when it goes their way. Exactly. That's the key. That's the key. It only counts when I win. That's it. The legislation failed this year, but Newton said he plans to bring back his bill in the 2024 legislative session. Newton added that while he's not specifically concerned about an out-of-state group introducing pro-abortion rights ballots measures in Oklahoma, there is a possibility because there are some groups like Planned Parenthood that would want that to be a reality. So they may pick us out as a target state. Imagine being like so against people having like bodily autonomy and the right to self-determination that you have to be this freaking spiteful and this authoritarian. Can you imagine? Jesus Christ. We have to protect ballot initiatives in general before we can even think about having one to protect abortion rights. Without this tool, I think, or at least the idea is that regardless of what our legislatures are doing, there are recourses that we should be allowed to take, right? And doing things like ballot initiatives or constitutional amendments should be sacred. And I think that they should be front and center because they offer us an alternative, right? Because, like, yeah, what if we actually don't feel representative? What if we don't actually feel represented by our representatives? We should have, we should have a way of expressing that, right? And I think that, like, ballot initiatives are a way of doing that. Do you think that ALEC will ever go away anytime soon? I'm assuming that you mean like this conglomerate of like corporations, I think, that like essentially spit out like rubber stamped bills. No. As long as you know, we're in this situation, it's gonna continue. Folks, I need to take a second to do a quick chill session. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out, and you get 5 free emotes. If you guys have a second also, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit the big red subscribe button. It really does help us out. Join the Discord if you want to keep up with the channel. And don't forget to spread the word far and wide that this is one of the chillest places to be. Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the news and for the politics. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for the new follows. Thank you for the massive raids. I appreciate that. We got back-to-back raids, starting with Tina_2. And then Left Flank Vets. Thank you so much. Alio with the 10 biddies earlier. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day. I'm not done yet. Come on. Just doing a really quick chill session. That's it. Alright. Oh, I thought you were ending it for a sec. Oh, for a sec too? No! No, not yet. Not yet. We've got some important stuff to do. Oh, good lord. How do I get this out of here? Sheesh. Stop it. Okay. Yeah, no, there's more bad news. This one is a media, haven't we covered it all? No, not even close. This is more of like a media analysis lesson, okay? Sometimes, from time to time, I will do these where I find like an article that's so egregious that like we just need to go over it. This is one of them. This is a perfect opportunity to engage in some media analysis, right? Something that, you know, should be par for the course. Quote, we're much safer from the climate because we're richer. Nice. Right off the bat, some red flags should be, you know, going off here. author Bjorn Lomborg highlighted data showing humans are dying far less from natural disasters than they were 100 years ago. Oh yeah, gee. 100 years ago? That seems to be a bit of a massaging of the facts. We don't really hear anything but one catastrophe after another. Yeah, because that's the truth. But if you actually look at the data, what's happened over the last 100 years is if you look at the things that climate change can impact on deaths on humans, and mind you, he has to like zoom in to just specifically deaths, not like the overall domino effects of climate change. He's like zeroing in because he needs to push this point. He needs to push this propaganda. So he's zeroing in on like the literal impact deaths on humans. So that's floods, droughts, storms, wildfires, and extreme temperatures. The international data shows that 100 years ago, about 500,000 people died every year. Well, every year of what? Of catastrophe? Last year, just 7,000 people died. We've seen a decline of more than 99%. We're much safer. Damn, we freaking did it. Because we're richer, and richer means you're much better able to deal with the problems that nature throws at you. So therefore, you don't have to, you don't have to worry about climate change. Don't worry, we're rich. Unless you're not. And then, if that's the case, then... But furthermore, you have to reduce the argument to literal deaths, which obviously the impact of climate change is so much more than just like actual literal deaths of humans, right? Climate change has a domino effect of an example would be if you can't grow food, what do you think is going to happen? If you can't grow food the way we're normally like, at this point it's unsustainably, but the way we're growing food right now is unsustainable. What happens when we actually can't? People go hungry. What happens when people go hungry? Well, starvation, death. The same thing goes for water. What happens when hundreds of millions of people suddenly lose access to water? That might be a bit of a problem. What about pandemics that might be exacerbated by climate change? That might be a problem. Yeah, exactly. Another 1900 Galveston hurricane would have been evacuated today instead of killing thousands. Exactly. No, I'm saying in like the extreme cases where down the line, as our ability to grow food becomes less and less capable, yeah, starvation is going to be a thing. Starvation is going to be a thing. I mean, we're already seeing it in some areas of the world, not here, but anyways, so yeah, like you have to immediately ask yourself, first of all, who is this guy? I've done this before, so I'm kind of familiar, but so, first of all, the one thing to note is that he's actually not a climate scientist. His education background comes from political science and environmental economics. We produce way more food than we need right now. That's true. $100 years ago, there were 2 billion people. That's true. I Dan Simpson rating with a party of 34. Welcome everybody. Yeah, and people still starve. That's true. Ice Cream Jones, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome everybody. Jeez, we've just been getting back to 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 back raids. I am truly thankful. Hey, Iden, how's it going? Hope you're good. I'm hanging in there. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Welcome everybody. If you haven't seen me before, I am a Difficult Truth. I do the news. I do the politics Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us on the weekends around noon Eastern Time for Sunday Fun Day. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. And you get 5 free emotes. That's how I bribe ya. How about that? Disasters today are man-made, assisted by 7.7 billion, and they're armed with gas-powered leaf blowers. That's exactly how it happens. I don't know if it's truth. If it's truth though. Hey, how's it going? Oh, well, yeah. I only talk in truth. I only talk in truth. It was a joke. Yeah, I know who you are, my friend. I know. Disaster capitalism. Capitalism is disastrous by nature. Okay. So we're doing a little bit of media literacy here. Capitalism is currently working the world. If it didn't work, then a different system would took over. But nope, that's a pretty fallacious argument because, like, well, at some point, you know, at some point, there was kingdoms and monarchies ruled the world, right? At some point, monarchies were working the world. So, just because that was, like, the norm doesn't make it good. Okay? Yeah, sure. At some point, the monarchies ran the world. Or worked the world, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't make it good. And there was a different era. Oh, that's literally irrelevant to the argument that you just made. Literally, completely nothing to do with the statement that I just made. I didn't say it was good or bad. You did say it was good. The implication is working, meaning it's good. Yeah. In whatever, the 1600s, the monarchy was working. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what the point being drawn here it means, or what's the argument. Yeah, in the 1600s or whenever, the monarchy was working. Feudalism, when monarchy was the norm. When monarchy was the norm, that was the system that was working the world, right? So just because that system was working the world at the time doesn't mean it's good. It didn't work after many hundreds of years. Yeah, because people got tired of it and finally had the ability to overthrow it. It didn't just happen, right? People, turns out, don't like to be ruled in an authoritarian manner. Eventually, they got sick of it. So when capitalism doesn't work, another system will take it over. But it hasn't happened. That's my point. Yeah, but just because the system, like, is the, you know, hegemonic, I guess, just because the system is the hegemonic norm, whatever you want to call it, whatever terminology you want, capitalism is currently the norm, right? That's what it is. That's what is working the world. It doesn't mean that it's good. Capitalism is an experimental method of organizing the economy. Experiment seems to yield bad outcomes for the vast majority of people. Capitalism does work for the 5 families that own the oil, land, and food. That's true. It confuses the difference between government and economics. Anyhow, capitalism was pretty deep in some of those monarchies, for example. Yeah, but I guess, like, it wasn't like capitalism like we see it now. I was just trying to make the point that just because, like, a system is, like, working the world at the time doesn't make it good, and doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive to change things to make it better. Most people that defend capitalism live under capitalism and are used by capitalism instead of using it. Oh, instead of refusing it? The majority of the world lives and uses capitalism. That doesn't make it good. This is an ad populist, like, attempt to say that, like, look, everybody uses it, so what of it? No, using it, they might feel living under it is using it, but they aren't. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, yes, Mad Binks brings up a good point. And so does S.V. Harkin, and the world is a great ball of suffering. So, what's your point? Yes, I agree. So, capitalism is what runs the world, I guess, for the few. While the rest of us get to eat shit, I guess. That doesn't sound like a very good system. I never mentioned it's good or bad. You keep mentioning that. Yeah, but, like, I'm trying to say, then, like, what's your point then? That it works for who? The world is suffering? Yeah. There's homelessness. People can't get healthcare in this country. 19 countries that tried to use communism or socialism, and 7 of them failed using either one. That's a whataboutism. Can you name an example? Can you name an example? Cuba's capitalist? That's interesting. You made a statement saying those seven. First of all, you said 19 countries and then 7 of them failed using other one. So is it 7 or 19? I'm not sure what you're trying to prove here. Can you name an example of those 7 countries? Can you give me an example? Levi Uzi, thank you for the follow. You said that 7 countries. I'm not sure if it's 7 or 19. It seems like you're a little bit all over the place. You said 7 went from communism to capitalism. China used and tried 70 years of communism and then flipped to capitalism. That's interesting. Cuba's only hindered by sanctions and blockades. That's true. Through their current healthcare system, they were able to develop some of the first COVID vaccines, but didn't have the resources to distribute them. That's true. You gave me Cuba, which is a communist country. And then, still communist country. China is not communist anymore? Well, Jesus. Breaking news, everybody. Oh. Okay. I guess I just missed, like, the news of the century. Huh. That's interesting. That's very interesting. No, your examples aren't really good. Because, well, I wouldn't consider China 100% like capitalist. I wouldn't say... I wouldn't call China a capitalist country. I wouldn't necessarily make that statement. Because that would be really incorrect. You're just making stuff up. Like, if we're gonna just, if we're just gonna adopt your loose definitions of words, then, like, whatever. I guess, like, Europe is socialist. China is capitalist. I don't know. Words have no meaning. You wouldn't, because the definition of capitalism, doesn't quite strictly fit the way China operates. I wouldn't call China a capitalist country. Like, that just doesn't make sense. Literally, their entire, like, political structure is communist. It's a unitary Marxist-Leninist one-party socialist republic. That's what it is. What is it there to explain, dude? It's very simple. The statement, China is a communist country. China is a capitalist country is an incorrect statement. That's what I'm saying. China is not a strict capitalist country. It just doesn't make any sense. Rather it's strict or not, it's currently a capitalist country. It's really not. Like, it is an incorrect statement to say that. When did they stop using communism? Wait, first of all, hold on. What is communism? No, I think you have it backwards. I think you have it backwards. Echo Russell Dragon, how's it going? I didn't ask when, I said, what is communism? Yeah, so the rest of your years in... Cool. So, You said since 1949. That's interesting. October 1949, the Chinese Communist leader Mao Zedong declared the creation of the People's Republic. So, I guess like the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, Mao Zedong, I guess he was a capitalist. That's wow, dude. Like the historical analysis that I'm getting here is just freaking wild. It's just freaking wild. When Mao created communism, it was actually capitalism. Yeah, I mean, seriously, if you can't take 5 seconds to check what you're about to say, from 1879 to 1949, the revolution was in 1949, dude. Are you okay? This was the birth of capitalism in China in 1949? I'm waiting to hear what the explanation on this is. Because this is wild. This is some wild historical analysis I'm reading here. (1949) is when capitalism happened in China. Jesus Christ. Anyways. That's right. Marx was actually the first true capitalist. His work, Das Kapital, was actually a entire analysis of capitalism and why it's good and how it works. That's right. That's right. And when he wrote the Communist Manifesto, it was actually the Capitalist Manifesto. Yeah, this is all making sense. It all makes so much sense when you look at it in that lens of historical analysis. Oh, this makes so much sense. Jesus freaking Christ. Anyways. Alright, so where were we? Yes, listen, media analysis. Okay, this guy, false alarm, discusses how liberal scare tactics and the climate is okay. It's all fine. Everything is okay, folks. Everything is okay. And this is the kind of stuff that Fox News pumps out consistently.
Bjorn Lomborg joins me now. His latest book is titled False Alarm. So how are things improving in the environment that people don't ever learn about?
Hey, Jesse. So we don't really hear anything but one catastrophe after another. But if you actually look at the data, what's happened?
Okay, so notice the question is, how have things improved with the environment, right? That's the question that he's trying to say. Hey, Echo Wrestler Dragon, how's it going? Yeah, so question was, how do we, how's the environment improving?
The last 100 years is, if you look at all the things that climate change can impact on deaths and humans, so that's floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires and extreme temperatures.
That's not the question. That's not the question, my friend. The question was, how has the environment improved? The obvious answer to that is, overall, we're pretty effed. Overall, we're pretty effed. I mean, like, you can see, like, some small, outliers of things getting better in certain ways. But the overall trend seems to be catastrophe. Humans aren't dying enough, so yeah, obviously everything is fine. That's true.
International data shows that 100 years ago, about 500,000 people died every year. Last year, just 7,000 people died. We've seen a decline of more than 99%. We're much safer. Why? Because we're richer, and richer means you're much better able to deal with the problems that nature throw at you.
What about these massive heat waves that the governor keeps talking about?
Yeah, that's kind of important. What about the unprecedented heat waves? What about, like, droughts that are, you know, happening, that are supposed to be once in a 1,000-year event? They're happening quite much more frequently, much sooner than anticipated, and much stronger than anticipated. What about that?
And moving your air conditioning thermostat down a notch. What's he talking about there?
Well, so Jesse, global warming is a real problem, but it's just one of many things. And really, we know how to deal with heat. So we're going to see more heat waves, but we've actually seen dramatic declining impacts of heat waves in the US. Why? Because of air conditioning. It's not.
Oh, so he's trying to talk about impacts on human lives because of air conditioning. This is actually insane. This guy's supposed to be like some type of writer, and his job is to basically downplay the climate crisis. That's his job, and here he is on Fox News. Hey, Simulacra, yeah, American lives. Jesus Christ.
Not hard. You need to have enough energy to run your air conditioner, and they don't in California. That's the real tragedy.
That's not also quite entirely true. The California grid, despite it being, you know, strained to the max, didn't need to be, there was no brownouts. There was no planned outages. And we need air conditioning because of... That's right. That's right. You know, it's really funny because, like, you just ask a couple of quick questions and, like, the whole thing falls apart. And this is supposed to be an academic, folks. In the UK, people don't have AC generally and won't be able to afford heat this winter. Yep. FPG&E, true.
And at the same time, of course, you need to remember there are many more people dying from...
Look at the thing here. It says, despite scare tactics, the climate is okay. Nowhere in this segment did he say that the climate was okay. He said that people, like, he said that we're richer, so therefore we'll be able to have more resources to deal with things, I guess. Not that the climate is okay. Like, how it's so misleading.
Both in the US and around the world. And so for the US, it's about 20,000 people die from heat. but 170,000 people die from cold. And how do you avoid dying from cold? It's also access to energy. So again, we have to be careful that we don't use the climate policies to make our energy so expensive people can't afford to turn on their air conditioner.
But that's because there's terrible policies. I assume because he's jumping all over the place. I assume that this is referencing the, UK energy prices. Well, these were policy decisions that were made that have resulted in this. Renewable energy is, by and large, cheaper than fossil fuels. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
When it's really hot and keep warm in the winter, that's what kills people. That's how we solve these problems as well.
Yeah,
with cheap energy.
Nuke plants wouldn't hurt. Last question, what is this doing to children psychologically when you say that they're all going to die in 10 years?
Nobody has literally said that. That is a massive straw man. That is probably the current reason why we're having such a wheat shortage is actually the straw man that this guy just put up. Yeah, nobody's saying that we're gonna freaking die in 10 years. Literally no serious person has said that we're just gonna die in 10 years, okay? Energy is causing global warming, but we'll be okay because we use energy, so we can't change how we do energy because then we'll die because of global warming. Excellent, flawless logic. Nor is he factoring the wars from ecological wars, displacement. Oh yeah, no, we haven't even touched the surface of all of that. We haven't even touched the surface of all that. But the point being is that he's not being very honest here.
Well, obviously it's hurting them. It makes them uncomfortable and makes them traumatized. They say, why would I go to school? But it also means that we don't focus on how do we actually fix all these problems. Remember, the world got better because we actually had lots of innovation. We had lots of people thinking, I think I can do this better. We want our kids to do the same thing so that the world will become much better in the future. Not scare them witless, but actually tell them, we got this, but let's do it smarter.
Yeah, let's get some more air conditioning units. That would help us all.
Oh yeah,
Thank you very much,
Jesus Christ.
Thank
the excellent analysis. We're gonna solve the climate crisis by putting a bunch of AC units. Thank you, Fox News. This is the kind of bullshit that these people fucking peddle on behalf, I can only assume, on behalf of the freaking fossil fuel industry. This is just unbelievable to me. This is wild. Why can't I access this? Hold on. Wow. That's unfortunate. Maybe we'll take a look at that tomorrow. You can talk all you want, profit is motive. Who, this guy? The Bjorn guy? Lawborn or whatever his name is? Yeah, he's a propagandist. He's out there to peddle his books. And to tell people that climate change isn't that big of a deal. Just put in more air conditioning, it'll be alright. Alright. Mega drought in the American Southwest, a climate disaster unseen in 1200 years. But that's okay, because that guy's prescription is just to put more AC. Yeah, he's hired lips for shareholders. That's right. King Brimer, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Gifting it out to the community with another gifted sub. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. Appreciate that. Thank you. When NASA climatologist James Hansen testified before Congress in 1988 about a warming planet, the temperature in Washington, D.C. hit a record 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It was a summer of unprecedented heat waves, and 40 states were grappling with drought. His warning was seen as a historic wake-up call, but instead of heeding the existential smoke alarm, the U.S. removed the batteries and kept on cooking. It's all love. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Nearly 4 decades later, the consequences of a sweltering Earth are hitting home in the U.S. Southwest and Mountain West, comprising of states from California to Colorado. Over the past 2 decades, extreme heat and dwindling moisture levels have converged to create a mega drought deemed the driest period in 1,200 years. The West is now uncharted territory, as once singular conditions become the norm. Its mightiest reservoirs, like Mead and Lake Powell, are at record lows and steadily shriveling. Prolonged triple-digit heat waves are making cities like Arizona, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada almost unlivable during summers, and wildfires now spark year-round, as parched forests and grasslands are more primed than ever to burn. Yeah, pretty much. And this is 2022 now. These are the ramifications that we're experiencing. That we're experiencing live, right before our eyes. And like, these people have like the audacity to say that everything's all right. You know, just buy some more AC, you'll be alright. And by then, Hansen was one of the many scientists, including fossil fuel industry climate experts, expressing concern. Yep. I have little hope that we're going to fix the climate in time, to be honest. I mean, we, well, how do I put this? How do I put this, and how do I make it? Okay, so the reality is we're not making the moves necessary to properly address the climate crisis, and a lot of these things are already locked in. A lot of the effects and domino effects that will come, that we may see, we may not see in our lifetime, but definitely the generation coming will see. A lot of it's already locked in. Some of it is, for all intents and purposes, irreversible, and we're failing. That's the reality of it. We're failing. I don't think that we are making the necessary policy decisions to even attempt to address this. But now, that being said, it doesn't mean that if we start acting the way we're supposed to act now, that we can at least prevent more harm from being done, which is really the goal at this point. AC uses more energy, which energy comes from the burning of fossil fuels, and burning of fossil fuels contributes to the heating of the planet, which means we need more ACs. Yeah, that's pretty much this guy's logic. Yeah, no, the idea, of course, is to not rely on fossil fuels. What we do now prevents even worse conditions after 2050. That's the goal, exactly. That's the goal. 1/3 of Pakistan is flooded. Climate change isn't some event that will happen. It's an ongoing process, 100%. 100%. A recent analysis by the Washington Post found that in some parts of the Southwest, average annual temperatures have already risen by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, a threshold widely considered the tipping point, at which devastating consequences for people and environment take hold. yeah, we already blew past that. I think most scientists are like pretty much have pretty much fallen back on the 2 degrees Celsius goal. That seems to be like where they're falling back to, because it doesn't seem like we're gonna make this one. The extraordinary conditions offer a warning of what lies ahead for other arid regions that cross this line. It's also a reminder that despite all the modern innovations to circumvent the unforgiving climate, drought may once again have the final say unless drastic steps are taken quickly. We're given an excellent warning by climate scientist, says Bill McKibben, the journalist turned climate activist, and yet, instead of mustering the will to do something about it, our political and economic systems rallied to do nothing. Capitalism. In a new series, The Garden will explore the consequences of mega droughts on the community and environments of the U.S. Southwest, where cattle ranchers, indigenous people, and tourists alike are seeing their daily lives upended. The research behind the study that identified the current mega drought did so by analyzing one of nature's greatest record keepers, tree rings. While the drought is a natural part of the Southwest climate, looking at the relationship between tree rings and soil moisture found that the current period of aridity, which began in the year 2000, is unprecedented since AD 800. Yeah, take that into take a second to take that in. A 2022 study published in the journal Nature Climate Change attributed 42% of the last 2 decades' hot and dry conditions to global heating. Jesus Christ. These last 2 decades alone, folks. Tim Kohler, an archaeologist and professor at Washington State University, says the current mega drought is different from prehistoric dry periods. This one seems to be more severe than the previous droughts, just as long. But the really bad news is that all previous mega droughts took place without the influence of increasing greenhouse gases. Now we're playing a new ballgame, and scientists don't know what to expect. Recent research has shown how such compelling forces are playing out on the ground. A report last February from the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, detailed how wildfires ravaging the Southwest ponderosa pine forests are fueling a dangerous positive feedback cycle instead of acting as a carbon sink that absorbs CO2. Oh, Jesus, explains Camille Parmesan, an ecologist who contributed to the report. Some forests can actually become generators of greenhouse gases as they burn, in turn driving more heating. Nice. Excellent stuff. Part of the problem is the oversimplification of temperature. Even at the current temperature in California, nearly half the forest will be gone and become brush, and fires being most of the transition. Yep. At some point, we may have put such a long and heavy train into motion that the positive feedback cycles will be locked in and continue to produce CO2 regardless of what humans do. We have evidence is starting, and that is really scary. Yeah, like, oh man, a self-sustaining, like, positive feedback loop that requires none of our input, that continues to release CO2, thus continuing the warming of the planet, thus continuing the domino effects that comes with it. That's just a lot to take in. Another alarming aspect to the current dry period is something Parmesan called synergistic compounding effects, essentially when the consequences of climate change occur simultaneously and turn what might otherwise have been a normal weather-related event, such as a fire or heat wave, into a disaster. One such example is in Colorado on the western slope of the Rocky Mountains that feeds Lake Powell and Lake Mead. The slope is experiencing less snowfall and higher temperatures, but on top of that, dust storms in nearby Utah have grown bigger and more frequent as the soil dries out, and dust then blows into the mountain, making the snow melt even faster. These two are interlocking phenomena and are making the drought worse. This compounding phenomena is also played out last spring and summer with large wildfires in northern Arizona and northern New Mexico. A dearth of snowfall led to a parched forest floor where the drought impacts have already killed many trees. That combined with record heat, low humidity, and hurricane-force winds to create unstoppable wildfires. Kathy Oliver found herself in the path of one such blaze, the Tunnel Fire near Flagstaff, Arizona, in April. Oliver, who operates a local horse sanctuary, awoke one windy morning to the smell of smoke and was forced to flee almost immediately. The fast-moving fire, which went on to scorch nearly 27,000 acres, consumed her home and her belongings within hours. Jesus Christ. I could feel the fire's heat at my back when I was loading the last few horses. Yikes. Says Oliver, her narrow escape with the 21 horses and 3 dogs and 2 cats. Climate change hit me full on. As the West squares up to the worst shot in modern history, there are lessons to be learned from the past. Kohler has spent more than 3 decades studying prehistoric Puebloan civilization in the Southwest, and he knows what the stress of a mega drought can do to a community. He says the large Puebloan societies historically evolved during century-long periods of reliable precipitation when farming conditions were favorable, and then fell apart during intense mega droughts that lasted 20 to 40 years. For instance, when thriving settlements such as Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde were hit by tough droughts in the 1100s, survivors dispersed to smaller communities, what is now Arizona and New Mexico. But what has puzzled Kohler is evidence from his archaeological research that shows that not every prolonged drought led to the demise of the Puebloan society. He says that it was only the socially polarized communities that appeared to collapse during the climate crisis. What I think happened is that some people living in the village had more wealth or maize production than others. Explained Kohler. Over time, tensions built between the haves and have-nots. If these were pre-existing social divisions during a climatic downturn, then you had the potential for violence and the village life was thrown into chaos. Yeah, makes total sense. Kohler noted that when he found evidence of village members living in the same social level, it appeared that they were able to survive a similarly challenging drought by pulling together and making things worse. Yeah, sounds familiar. It does. It does. So which path do we want to take? There are troubling echoes in the resource wars of today, such as the current stalemate over the Colorado River, where Western state leaders have been unable to agree on how to cut back water to use as supplies dwindle. That's gonna be a good meme. When all the water starts to... Yeah. The water wars, folks. The deadlock poses a dire threat to a reservoir system that provides water to, 40 million people and supports a large portion of the US agriculture. Cultural memories of extreme climate events live on in the stories of North America's indigenous people who see human survival as dependent on maintaining harmony with all living things. It is a lesson the Lakota spiritual leader Arvo Looking Horse says the descendants of European colonizers have yet to learn. Looking Horse holds a divinely ordained position among the Plains tribes, similar to the Dalai Lama in Tibetan Buddhism. For him, the forces that put the desires of the fossil fuel industry over the warning of scientists are the same as the forces that invaded indigenous homelands centuries ago in a quest for natural resources. For native people, everything in this land has a spirit. Everything on this earth has a spirit. Animism is what this is. Animism. The wind, the water, the trees, the air, we're all connected to it, said Looking Horse. Man has gone too far in abusing Mother Earth, and now Mother Earth is sick and she has a fever. Yeah. Looking Horse says the current state of climate change was predicted in a Lakota prophecy and brings humanity to a crossroads. We have to stop abusing Earth and allow her to heal. We have no choice because now our lives depend on it. The Earth is a source of life and not a resource. Agreed. We are at a crossroads. This is it, right? What do we do? This is the crossroads. This tiny era that we're in right now, the here and now, this is the crossroads. What will we choose? Will we decide to work together and try to fix this and try to stop the more catastrophic ends of climate change? Or will we end up instead trying to fight each other and end up making it worse? The Biden administration's landmark climate legislation, I don't know, I'll use air quotes on that one. I don't know if it's landmark, but it's something, I guess, was signed into law in August, will help in the fight. Alongside efforts to cut greenhouse gas emissions, the legislation will also provide $550 million over the next decade to improve water access to disadvantaged communities in the Southwest, especially Native American reservations. It also provides $4 billion to fund drought mitigation programs in Colorado, in the Colorado River Basin states, such as initiatives to encourage municipal water conservation and reduce agriculture water waste. In the Southwest, the challenges of climate change also present new opportunities. With both Lake Mead and Lake Powell at a record low capacity, environmental groups have proposed storing whatever is left of Lake Mead's storing whatever is left of Lake Powell's water into Lake Mead, thereby reducing the amount of water lost to evaporation. This measure would also return the canyons of Lake Powell to their pre-reservoir state, creating landscapes that act as a carbon sink and potentially even a new national park. While ranching and growing water-intensive crops like alfalfa may no longer be sustainable in desert states, the region offers excellent locations for new solar and wind enterprises. There you go. As maintaining a green lawn becomes an increasingly impossible in places like Utah, which, by the way, like, why would you even want to do that? It makes no sense. Homeowners are forced to finally let go of the pastoral aesthetic, because that's literally what it is, brought to the southwest by European colonizers, and embrace strictly native plants, which should be the norm. I don't understand why this is such a... Anyways, 34 years after Hansen warned lawmakers that climate change had arrived, America's grappling with the consequences of inaction. And this guy isn't like the only one, right? Scientists have been talking about climate change and the potential ramifications of this for decades. And like, even in the early 1900s, we absolutely had an inkling of the concept of greenhouse gases and what that could mean. Or it's just like, it's just hard to believe that the people who are making these decisions don't know, right? I mean, they have to know. It is just unfathomable to me that anybody in these positions would just wouldn't know, right? I mean, of course they know. Of course they know. McGibbons remains undaunted. We have to move extremely fast to have any chance at all in limiting the rise of global temperature. New studies keep bringing bad news, but I remain hopeful. The antidote to despair is activism. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And meanwhile, we have people on Fox News talking about how we need more AC units. Not just talking about how we need more AC units, but posing themselves as an authority on this subject. That's the problem. Okay, we're gonna try to speedrun this because we did basically one of the climate change articles that I wanted to do. Here we have a new study where we're on the brink of disastrous tipping points. 5 dangerous tipping points that may have already been passed due to the 1.1 degrees already caused by humans to date. These include the collapsing of Greenland's ice cap, the collapse of a key current in the North Atlantic, which that's a good meme if that goes. It's going to disrupt a lot of things. Earth's ecosystems and the way Earth's systems function, from the way the winds function, the way the currents function, all of that is so complex and interconnected that even messing with like what seems, you know, small at the time has very, very deep ramifications. And here we are. At 1.5 degrees of heating, the minimum rise is now expected. 4 of the 5 tipping points moved to now possible, from possible to likely. Also, at 1.5, additional 5 tipping points become possible, including changes to vast northern forests and the loss of almost all mountain glaciers. Which, yeah, that's a problem. In total, researchers found evidence for 16 tipping points, with the final 6 requiring global heating of at least 2 degrees to be triggered, 2 degrees Celsius to be triggered. According to scientists' estimation, tipping points would take effect on timescales varying from a few years to centuries, depending, I guess, what we do. The Earth may have left a safe climate state beyond 1 degree global warming, with the whole of human civilization having developed in temperatures below this level. Passing 1 tipping point is often likely to help trigger others, producing cascades, which I call domino effects. But this still is being studied and was not included, meaning the analysis may present the minimum danger. Professor Johan Rockstrom, the director of the Potsdam Institute of Climate Impact Research, was part of the study team and said the world is heading to a 2 to 3 degrees Celsius of global warming, which That is just catastrophic. That is catastrophic. Not good. Not good. 0 out of 10 stars. Would not recommend. A 2 to 3 degrees warming of planet that moves in this direction. If you think that what we see now is bad, if you think like the unprecedented back-to-back droughts, wildfires, floods, if you think that that's bad now, a world that's 2 to 3 degrees Celsius, yeah, that's just like catastrophe. That would be catastrophic. We would definitely be seeing some stuff go down. Should we continue on this path? This sets Earth on a course to cross multiple dangerous tipping points that will be disastrous for people across the world. To maintain a livable condition on Earth and enable stable societies, we must do everything possible to prevent crossing these tipping points. Yeah, I would say so. David Armstrong McKay at the University of Exeter, a lead author of the study, said it's really worrying and there are grounds of grief, but there are also still grounds for hope. The study really underpins why that Paris Agreement goal of 1.5 is so important and must be fought for. Methinks that train has already left the station, my friends. We're not saying that because we're probably going to hit some tipping points and everything is lost and it's game over. Every fraction of a degree that we stop beyond 0.5 degrees Celsius reduces the likelihood of hitting more tipping points. Yes, research has shown that signs of destabilization in the Amazon rainforest, the loss which would have profound implications for the global climate and biodiversity, as well as Greenland ice sheets and the Gulf Stream currents that scientists call the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC. I believe this was also referenced. Oh, yeah, here we are. Yeah, I was going to say this is probably referenced in the IPCC, but here we are. A recent report by the IPCC said the risk of triggering climate tipping points becomes high with 2 degrees Celsius of heating. Yes, we actually did, from head to toe, we sat here for several streams, back-to-back several streams, going over the IPCC technical summary from working group, I think 1, 2, and 3, I think we did. We also saw like the press conference release, I think. We also saw it for them. And yeah, this is I don't think it will get much better until Paris and similar agreements are coupled to trade. China emissions, for example, are larger US CO2 emissions by proxy. Yes, that is true. And yes, it is true that unfortunately, you know, without having some way of really putting some teeth, all we're doing is just like effectively the equivalent of thoughts and prayers, right? It's just like, yeah, we'll do a thing, and like, yeah, it's bad, and yeah, that's it, and sure, we'll take care of it. Promise. Wait, what is it? The pinky, the crossing the fingers. Like, yeah, we'll take care of it. Don't worry, we'll set all these goals, and look, we're doing the thing. We're giving you the right rhetoric. It's gonna be great. And then like nothing really happens because there's no way of holding any folks accountable, really, much less ourselves. The analysis published in the journal Science assessed more than 200 previous studies on past tipping points, climate observations, and modeling studies. A tipping point is when a temperature threshold is passed, leading to an unstoppable change in the climate system, even if global heating ends. The 9 global tipping points identified are the collapse of the Greenland, West Antarctic, and the 2 parts of the East Antarctic ice sheets, the partial and total collapse of the AMOC, Amazon dieback, the permafrost collapse, and the winter sea ice loss in the Arctic. The assessment of the Amazon tipping point did not include the effects of deforestation. The combination of warming and deforestation could bring that a lot sooner. A further 7 tipping points would have severe regional effects, including die-off of tropical coral reefs, changes to the West African monsoon. Other tipping points, potential tipping points, is still being studied, include the loss of ocean oxygen, major shifts in the Indian summer monsoon. Scientists define crossing a tipping point as possible when minimum temperature threshold is passed and likely beyond the central threshold estimate. Professor Nicholas Boers at the Technical University of Munich said that the review is a timely update on Earth's potential tipping elements, and the threat of tipping events under further warming is real. He added that much more research was needed to narrow down the critical temperature thresholds, with current estimates remaining highly uncertain. Professor Thomas Stalker at the University of Bern said the science on tipping points is far from done, it's barely begun, and much better models are needed to address the question of what warming level is critical for tipping points. A special IPCC report on climate tipping points was proposed in May by the Swiss government. Professor Tim Lenton, University of Exeter, and co-author of the analysis, said since I first assessed the tipping points in 2008, the list has grown and our assessment of the risk that they pose increased dramatically. Our new work provides compelling evidence that the world must radically accelerate decarbonizing the economy. To achieve that, we need to trigger positive social tipping points. Yeah, well, the likelihood of that happening seems to be lower and lower in my opinion. Nonetheless, this does need to happen. We don't really have much of a choice, right? We don't have a choice. It's gotta happen. Otherwise, we'll head straight towards disaster. Those are our two choices. All right, folks. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have today. This is a sign off for real, okay? Thank you guys for hanging out today. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you so much to all the wonderful folks who came in here today. Thank you for all the new follows. Thank you for the new for the tier 1 subs. Thank you for the biddies. So let me just do a quick shout out. Mouseymoot, thank you for the follow, appreciate it, and you get your 5 free emotes. There you go. A few thank yous. Let me start with Tina. Folks, if you guys don't know, please make sure you go on to twitch.tv/Tina_2. Phenomenal human being. I appreciate her content very much. Please consider checking out twitch.tv/leftflankvets. We usually head on over there after the majority report. Please go check them out. Please go follow them. Please go follow them, Marcus, on Twitter as well. You can also follow Left Flank Vets on Twitter. And another thank you, a huge thank you, to Idan Simpson. Once again, please, if you have a moment, make sure you go follow twitch.tv/Idan Simpson. Go show some support, alright? They do phenomenal content too. And I heard that they're pro gamer too, huh? I do appreciate all of you guys hanging out, and I do appreciate all the raids. Thank you guys so much. You guys are what makes the channel grow. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button, do the YouTubes, and subscribe. Spread the word far and wide as well that this is one of the chillest places to be for the news and the politics, Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us on the Discord to keep up with the channel. Folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya!
Change on the subway train.
Alright, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.